Here's to whiskey kisses, the peaty taste of sin. Edinburgh morning with the smell of brewing on the wind. Here's to lighting bonfires as you watch the seasons turn.
Ah, crap, I forgot to put my watch on. Hey Google, what time is it?
It's whiskey time.
All right. Greetings, whiskey folk, and welcome back to Drinking Out Loud. I am your host, Adam Bradshaw, and as ever, it is a wonderful pleasure, an honour and a delight to have you here in the Strath Studio on the Dram Association YouTube channel for another Scotch Malt Whisky Society of Canada OutTurn. Now, we have 8 empty glasses once again. We have 8 whiskies, but this OutTurn is a little different. This OutTurn, we're pulling out a few old bottles. We've got some really interesting releases here, and for the first time in a while, we actually have a slightly different OutTurn here in British Columbia than our friends in Alberta, and that is exciting in itself. So, first of all, a huge welcome to everyone who's joining us in the live chat as this goes out on the first Friday at 6:30. If you happen to be there, hi, it's good to see you. It's always a pleasure, and I'll be right there typing alongside you. So if you have any questions about today's OutTurn, you can ask them live along in the live chat, and I will do my best to answer any questions you have. If you're watching this a little later on, please do feel free to leave a comment in the comments section below on the video, and we'll, if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them there. But also, if you just feel like saying hi, then it's always a nice sight to see people just dropping us a little note in the comment section. Of course, if you do feel like hitting that thumbs up, giving us a like, or maybe even subscribing, then feel free to as well. And I try to only say that once every 3 or 4 months, so that's my allotment for spring. Also, welcome to spring! I don't know what the weather's like as this goes out, but on the day of recording, it is absolutely beautiful outside. 17 degrees, nice and sunny. Hopefully this weather continues throughout the coming weeks. And yeah, I'm actually recording this quite a lot earlier than I normally would. This is the May OutTurn, but I'm recording it in the middle of April. And it's nice to be on time. It's nice to be prepared for once. It's a weird feeling for me. I'm prepared for once in my life. But what am I prepared for? I am prepared to showcase 8 amazing whiskies. And we're going to start off with whiskey number 1 today. Now, historically on these videos for the last little while, we've always started off with a repeat for number 1. That's not the case today. We actually have a repeat. We actually have a couple of repeats, technically, although one of them is from a long time ago. But it didn't make sense flavor-wise this time. So we're starting off with a brand new whiskey, a whiskey that's being released right here, right now. Well, actually, not right now. It'll be released in about 5 minutes when I reveal what it is and how much it costs. But here we go. Whiskey number 1 is called Velvet Underground. And here are the official tasting notes. A super sexy nose, full of fruity bubblegum, chalk, powdery fruit pastels, pineapple cubes, and many other tropical confections. Superb maturity for the age and dazzling fruit concentration. Reduction brings touches of juniper, sandalwood, scrunched newspaper, and white jelly beans. Also, fruit salad juices, sweetened olive oil, and passion flower. I'm not sure what passion flower is. Probably it's the flower of a passion fruit. Never eaten one. The mouth is rich with lime leaf, chopped herbs, cocktail bitters, touches of cough medicine, plain cornflakes, and buttery textural weight. Water brought out fruit teas, lemon balm, sweet fruit cordials, mixed herbs, brown toast, and winter green. Superb. Now, frankly, with tasting notes like that, that's, it sounds very exciting. It sounds like something maybe like a Kleinlich or, one of those really interesting, solid bourbon cask whiskies. And we do indeed have a bourbon cask whiskey. It's a first fill ex-bourbon cask whiskey, but it's probably not from a distillery you're expecting it to be from. This, ladies and gentlemen, Velvet Underground, is 1.228. Very, very nice. So, today's theme is all about finding our whiskey rhythm, and we're starting off with... I can only assume this is a reference, a musical reference in the name here. But it's certainly beating to the rhythm of a different drum than it normally would. And we'll get into that when we talk about the distillery in a short while. But here are the specifics. So this is distilled on the 6th of April 2011. It is from the Speyside region. It is from a first fill ex-bourbon barrel. Came out at 57.7% ABV. One of 223 bottles came out of that cask. And it was aged for 8 years. This is from the Juicy Oak and Vanilla collection. Let's see what we've got, shall we? Perfect pop. 10 out of 10 for the pop. Let's see how the glug goes. A very satisfying glug. I don't know why I bother rating the SMWSs for pop and glug. I rarely do. It's just funny too, because they're all the same, size and shape and bottle. Why it shouldn't really be different any time. They should always be the same. Oh, that smelt right off the bat like a fresh out of the oven apple crumble. Wow, that is super fruity. Super fruity and pastries. It's like when you're a kid and you try and bake things and you don't really know much about baking yet, and you mix up ingredients a little, and maybe instead of putting, fresh fruit in there, you think, we don't have any fresh apples, but we've got some apple-flavored, fruit roll-ups. Well, let's just throw that in a pie and see what happens. It smells a little bit like that happened. It's like condensed, concentrated fruit flavors. Yeah, it's like having a nice Danish pastry, but with, fruit leather instead of jam. That's a hell of a nose. Pineapple cubes, that's a good call. Well done, SMWS team. I love that tasting note. Pineapple cubes. Yeah. Touches of juniper. See, I want to find juniper. And I will go looking for it, but I feel like I'm mentioning this whiskey every week right now, but harkens back to the Victoria Whisky Festival, Old Perth. There's only a couple of cases of this remaining. This has quite a strong juniper nose on it. Yeah, it dissipates over time, especially with oxidation, so it's not quite as strong anymore, but when you first crack open a bottle, it's quite gin-like. It's got a nice juniper note to it. And I can tell you, actually, this distillery is a component of that blend. Yeah, it actually feels like there's quite a shared commonality between the two, actually. Not necessarily in the juniper. I can't say I'm particularly finding that note in this whiskey, but... Fruit salad juice. Oh, fruit salad juices. I thought it said fruit salad chews. I got excited then. There's something from my childhood. They had like a pink and yellow stripy little paper. Always stuck to the paper. It was like same kind of consistency as like chewing licorice, but yeah, fruit salad flavored in a way that no fruit salad has ever tasted like that. Like fake fruit salad flavored. Sweetened olive oil. Again, passion flower. No idea. Never really had it. Oh. That is a fruit bomb. That is. Lovely, lively vanilla. Again, pastry notes on the palate. But yeah, I'm getting all kinds of fruit from across the spectrum here. I'm getting tropical, I'm getting orchard, I'm getting citrus. I'm even getting a little bit of berry fruit. That's fruit salad. Yeah, fruit salad is a great term for that, I guess. Fruit salad juices make sense to me. Oh yeah, that's quite pleasant. It's very pleasant. The finish does have a little bit more of a herbal note going for it. It's I'm gonna say 57.7. It doesn't feel less alcoholic than that, but it also doesn't feel more alcoholic than that. It feels like it feels like it tastes exactly where it actually is, you know? You know, some whiskies taste less alcoholic than they are, or more so. This feels right on the money. Yeah, very nice. All right, I'm going to add a couple of drops of water, see if I can find any of the reduction notes on this, and tell you a little bit about Distillery 1, because of course, the SMWS, they say everything that you need to know on the label, but they keep one thing hidden, and that's the distillery. They do, however, have a very good code, and you can pick up on clues from the SMWS or from, you know, people like me just outright telling you sometimes what the distillery is. But yeah, the way the code works is the number before the period is the distillery code in order of distilleries that they have visited and bought casks from, and then after the period there, so 228 in this case is the edition. So this is the 228th cask that they've bought from the first distillery they ever visited. And yeah. It's a distillery that a lot of people are very, very familiar with. It's a distillery that I'm contractually obliged not to mention the name of. So, for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to say this is a Fenglachlas again. You might be able to pick up what it actually is. But I'm going to tell you this is a Fenglachlas. Or is it? Because, of course, Fenglachlas are very well known for all of their official bottlings as only ever using ex-Oloroso casks. That's kind of what they're known for. They're the kings of the sherry cask, and they will even sometimes claim in their marketing materials to literally not make anything else. Of course, that's not true. They do a lot of distillation for contract fillings. They do a lot of distillation for blends, but also for independent bottlers outside of their own official bottlings. So, yeah, I mean, whilst the Grant family are very, very protective of their name, they do seemingly release another brand from the Fenglachlas distillery, and I'm going to call that brand Mislaw. So if you do the same thing with Fenglachlas, you'll find out what the brand's actually called. But yeah, rumor has it that Mislaw is nothing else but just bourbon cask Fenglachlas, and yeah. I quite like it, to be honest. I like a nice bottle of Mislaw. It's really interesting, good whiskey. It's not always been that way. It's only recently been purchased by the same owners as Fenglachlas. I'm surprised I've not slipped up and accidentally said the right name so far. I'm doing well. But yeah, Mislaw is apparently just bourbon cask Fenglachlas, which is really cool. And this is a fantastic expression of a first fill ex-bourbon barrel Fenglachlas. And it's really cool, because if there's one thing that bourbon barrels do, more so than sherry casks, I think it highlights the distillery sort of spirit characteristic a little bit better. It doesn't cover it up as much. It sort of amplifies it in a sense. Yeah. A fantastic number one in today's lineup. A fantastic number one in the SMWS. 1.228 is available right this second at strathliquor.com/SMWS, and it is available for the price of $175.57. That means, of course, it is under the $180 mark, so it's only available to existing SMWS members. And if you're not an existing SMWS member, right, quite yet, head over to smws.ca and you can get the full lowdown on how to become a member. Or actually, we've got a bit of a write-up as well at our own page at strathliquor.com/SMWS. And I very much recommend keeping that page open, strathliquor.com/SNWS. Keep that page open throughout this lineup, throughout this tasting, because that is where you'll be able to see all of today's new whiskies automatically appearing on that page. Just hit refresh. Anytime I say a new whiskey's released, hit refresh, it'll appear right there. You've got the best chance of being able to pick up that whiskey. Pick it up, pay for it straight away, because if it's in your cart, it doesn't actually get set aside for you. It's not like a real cart where you're walking around in a shop, and generally people won't steal something out of your cart. However, in our digital cart, it only gets reserved for a short period of time, and then it's fair game. So people just walk up to you digitally and pinch it out of your cart. So yeah, it's a good idea to check out quickly. And the easiest way to do that is, of course, if you've already made a purchase from us previously, just log into your account. You can do so before you check out, or you can do so as you check out. Log into your account, and then checking out is super quick, super easy. Yeah, Fanglarkless, or maybe a Mislaw. I'll let you guys decide. Whatever you decide, I'm sure you'll agree. Stunning opening dram. Lovely. Thank you, Velvet Underground. Okay, so I mentioned it's a bit of a special OutTurn, and I mentioned that we're getting a bottle that is only coming to British Columbia, not to Alberta, and that is this next bottle. Number 2 in today's tasting is called Sweetness Summer Salts Around the Mouth, and here is the official write-up. Very sweet and bourbon-like, the nose delivered vanilla fudge, sugar puffs, toffee, spun sugar, honey, and Dr. Pepper, but complicated itself with cinnamon stick, lemon-perfumed rice, and oak. Water nudged it sideways, lemon to orange, cinnamon to clove, toffee to butterscotch, and vanilla fudge to chocolate fudge and ice cream. That sweetness somersaulted around the palate, cherries in syrup, vanilla cheesecake, caramel sauce, banana toffee, Murray mince, definitely one for a sweet tooth, though clove spice and dry oaky notes provided interest in the finish of what is fundamentally an easy drinking dram. Well, that just sounds delightful. And here we are, sweetness somersaults around the mouth. Get ready for a bit of a surprise, because we are taking a trip back in time, ladies and gentlemen, to not the old branding, but the old branding. Check it out. For those of you who've been in the club for more than 3 or 4 years, you might recognise this is what all the bottles used to look like back when I first joined the SMWS here in Canada. Yeah, it's nice to see every now and again. Got the old style logo before they went for the nice monogram. Yeah. This is G1.10. So if you're wondering why there's a letter in there, well, G stands for grain. So this is actually the first grain distillery that they visited. This is the 10th edition from that first grain distillery, which is, really early on. I guess the SMWS didn't really delve into grains until relatively late in their origin story. Yeah, this is going to be cool. It was distilled on the 14th of December, 1990. It is one of only 137 bottles from a refill hogshead, which either means it was only a part hogshead, or it was an incredibly leaky hogshead, or incredibly thirsty angels, I guess, because normally out of a hogshead you get around 250 bottles. This is almost half that. But yeah. But of course, whiskey only ages in the cask, it doesn't age in the bottle, so although it was distilled in 1990, it was bottled quite a while ago as well, and this is 21 years aged. So I'm guessing that would mean that it's actually been in the bottle for almost a decade. So yeah, this has been a long time coming. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this. I might get my wrist slapped by Robin Kelly, but This one was apparently never really meant to be in an OutTurn. It was, I assume, being kept for a special occasion, maybe a festival or something. But with all of the problems that we're having in the import world right now, we're having to pick out some interesting things from the vaults. Not the actual SMWS vaults. We're always picking interesting things out from them, but from our own SMWS Canada vaults. So yeah, it's an honor and a delight to be given the opportunity to have this wonderful whiskey only here in BC. Let's see if I can actually open it. I always have a little more trouble opening the old style bottles. I think the new closures are a little easier. Alrighty. Oh no! It's so old that the cork broke. Alright, well, luckily I have a corkscrew right here. Let's see if I can perform some surgery. I don't think I've ever had this happen to an SMWS bottle. It's quite exciting. Of course, it's happened several times on this YouTube channel. You can watch me fail miserably at opening a bunch of bottles on my 12 Drams of Christmas show. This is going to be a little bit more intricate than I expected, so I'll probably see you guys in a couple of seconds after a black screen. Well, with a little bit of help from a pour spout, I managed to get it out. That is, yeah. That took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that to happen. Alright, so. Yes, this is an old bottle. And I believe I actually managed to extract the cork without getting any broken bits of cork in it. That deserves a drink. Interesting. It's a little cloudy as well. Certainly wasn't chill filtered, I'll tell you that much. Should I put the cork back in? Oh! This is why you always keep a spare. I actually have some spare corks right here. And I believe I have some spare SMWS ones. Be weird if I didn't, because I certainly drink a lot of SMWS whiskey. There we go. One spare SMWS cork. Perfect. Right. Back to the show. So, sweetness somersaults around the mouth. So grain whiskey, of course, there's a couple of things that make it different from a malt whiskey. Of course, ingredients. The vast majority of grain whiskies will still have some malt in it to help with the fermentation. That's not always the case, though, these days, because there are ways to bypass that. Shelter Point, of course, famously make their whiskies with 100% unmalted barley occasionally. But yeah, this is a whiskey that is not 100% malted barley. That's basically what grain whiskey means in Scotland. In Scotland, they believe... Actually, I should tell you, this is from Scotland, because not all the G series are. We've got Gs from Japan as well. But this is a Scotch. This is a single grain Scottish whiskey. But yeah, so... In Scotland, they believe that anything that isn't 100% single malted barley is just grain. They just lump it all together. It doesn't really matter what grain. In this case, though, it's actually corn. This is a corn-based whiskey. I think, from memory, I think it's like 87% corn, something like that. Should have written that down in my notes, but I didn't. What you going to do? Fact check me if you like. I think it's around 87, maybe 87.5. I might just be making that number up in my head and misremembering, but maybe we'll find out in the live chat. But of course, the Scottish grain whiskies are a thing of beauty, especially once they've had a decent amount of age to them. And that's not always the case. You can have fantastic younger grain whiskies as well, as we've seen from Loch Lomond and the likes. But yeah, at 21 years old, a nice column distilled corn whiskey from Scotland is a thing of beauty. And that's, of course, I mentioned, there's a couple of things that make grain whiskey different to malt whiskey in Scotland. The type of still that's used is the other most important thing. even if it's 100% malted barley, if it's not made in a pot still, if it's used in a column still, then you still can't call it a single malt. So, as we've seen with Ross-Dew, of course. Is it Ross-Dew? I think it's Ross-Dew. I think that's what they call it. The Loch Lomond that's 100% malted barley in the column still. We had the thermonuclear bananas from them. That's one of their SMWS releases we had a couple of years ago. Fantastic. But this, of course, even if it was made in a pot still, would still be a grain because it's a very high percentage of this is corn. Oh, it is. It's sweet, it's thick, it's treacly, it's lemon, it's like treacle and lemon curd. Oh. Yeah, this is a special bottle. Not often in general these days you get to try whiskey from 1990. It's really cool trying something that's time capsuled in this way. I'm a member of several sort of independent whiskey clubs outside of my work, outside of the Dram Association, outside of the SMWS, and we will occasionally dip into whiskies that have been in private collections for a long time and maybe have been sat on the shelf for a dozen years or so before they've been opened. And they're really cool. It's really cool to experience that. To be able to experience that in a retail setting, it's really interesting. I'm very excited by this. It's really, really neat. Oh yeah, there's a nice minty licorice kick on the back. I'm loving that. What does it say at the end? A fundamentally easy drinking dram. That is exactly correct. This is, if nothing else, a fundamentally easy drinking dram. This is the kind of whiskey that I think very few people are going to dislike. It's just a all-round great, simple sipper. It's not lacking in flavour, that's for sure. But those flavours are not aggressive in any way. Despite being 61.1% ABV, this is not an aggressive whiskey. And that's really what I guess the time brings into play here. Yes, I actually can't believe this is 61.1. This feels significantly less alcoholic than the Fengllarclas did to me. All right, well, let's see what a little bit of water does to it, and let's tell you what G1 is, because we haven't seen many of these in the SMWS. G1 is a distillery that is quite close to my heart, mostly because I used to be able to wake up in the morning and see it from my bedroom window when I lived on Angle Park Terrace. This is a distillery in the heart of Edinburgh. This is in the Gorgie Dalrye area. This is North British. And North British is a really neat distillery, because unlike pretty much any distillery I can think of, it's actually co-owned by two competing companies. It was built in Edinburgh in 1885 to be an alternative to the DCL's large distillery at the time, which I can't remember what it would have been at that time. In 1885, probably Cameronbridge, yeah. Curiously now, however, it's now co-owned by DCL's modern-day successor, known as Diageo, you've probably heard of them, and Edrington. Edrington, most notably of Highland Park and Macallan fame. Yeah, it's mad. They co-own it. The ebony and the ivory of whiskey coming together in harmony to make beautiful grain whiskey for their blends. What blends, you ask? Well, this is a key component of Cutty Sark. Of course, it's no secret how much I love the Cutty Sark Prohibition. Famous Grouse, all-round, classic whiskey. I think the Famous Grouse, unless I'm mistaken, is the best-selling whiskey in Scotland. I'm fairly sure that's true. And of course, one of the royalty of the blended whiskey world, Chivas Regal. And this is found in all three of those, which is, a huge production to be able to keep up with demand for three of the best-selling whiskies worldwide. Add a little more water. Not sure that really did much. Yeah, it's really oily. It's really thick and oily, and I think there's a little bit of clumping of the fatty esters in the bottle here that's been sat around for a while. It's nice. It feels raw. It's like raw honey, you know? It's somehow better because it's not been refined. Which is weird, because in general, you know, we're taught to like the refined things in life, but sometimes it's nice to have it raw, isn't it? Holy crap, that... I've talked a lot about how, you know, theoretically, when you add a couple of drops of water or whiskey, it should get more flavorful. I've added more than a couple of drops to this, and it has, like, cranked up the volume. This is blossoming. This is much more flavorful now than it was before I did the water. There's a lot going on in here, too. Wow. That's a special whiskey, special experience. Thank you SMWS Canada. Thank you Rob and Kelly for giving us a chance to showcase this whiskey here in BC. Sweetness somersaults around the mouth. A G1.10. 21-year-old North British can be yours if you're quick on the draw at strathliquor.com/SMWS. Right now it is available for $217.30. $217.30. Top stuff. All right. 2 down, 6 to go. Let's see what we've got next. Well, next is actually one I'm quite familiar with, because this is a whiskey that is a long-lost repeat. This is a whiskey that we sold through all of our allotted bottles, 12 of them, I guess, when it first came out back in 2018, and they had a little bit left over, so they've given us a reprisal, I guess, a curtain call, I guess. It's coming out one last time, and I am very excited to say it's back. We have the handbags and the hookahs. The nose caught one of us sniffing a lady's handbag. That's not advisable, unless it's a lady you know. Don't go around sniffing random ladies' handbags, guys. Just it's creepy. It's wrong. Don't do it. Leather, cigarette packet, perfume, and polo mints. Whilst another was in a hookah bar, sucking fruity tobacco through a shisha pipe. The palate had flavours of tropical fruit salad, mango, pineapple, papaya, apricot, and hints of southern comfort. New leather and woody spice. The reduced nose had perfume, tobacco, honeysuckle, and minty notes, but was mainly sweet and fruity. Candy corn, cherry-flavoured sweets, and upside-down pineapple cake. Ooh. If you tuned in last month, you'll remember there was a whiskey. It was a Blair Athol that was literally just upside down pineapple cake to me. I could not get past how much it was just the essence of upside down pineapple cake. I don't remember this one being like that, but I'm intrigued to try it. Try it again. Reduced palate was tart and dry, more fruit skins than fruit, with peppery arugula leaves, aniseed, tobacco, and clove notes warming the finish. I love this broken cork. I'm gonna put it over here. It's a decorative broken cork now. I think it's part of the furniture. Alrighty, so handbags and hookahs. I'm sure many of you who are around back in 2018 remember this fondly. This is 7.184. It's spicy and dry, and yeah, this is actually, I believe this was quite early on in the new livery. So this is just after it changed from this one, and we've got a little. Line them up in a row. We've got the three different things that was seen in the SMWS. The original, the temporary middle one, and the new one. That's kind of cool. I like that. The evolution right here in front of us. Neat. Anyway, back to the handbags and hookahs. It's time to open it up. This is another first fill bourbon barrel. So much like whiskey number 1 today, same cask type. Same region as well. This is a Speyside. This one's a little older. This is 12. Yeah, cool. 12 years old. It was distilled on the 7th of September 2004. I'm going to be weirdly careful about the cork now. This one's only been sat around for 3 years, but still. We're good. All right. Yeah, where did I get to? 61% ABV on this guy. It's 187 bottles. I am 12 years aged. All right. many of you will know I'm a fan of the spicy and dry whiskies. I think they offer a really interesting, unique style that's we don't see as often as most of the other styles here in the SMWS. I think the only style that we see less often than this is possibly the heavily peated. Maybe the oily and coastal. We don't see too much oily and coastal, but yeah, this one's certainly not too common. Ooh, yeah, that is perfumed smoke. It's weird. It's not smoky. It's not like peat smoke, but it's got that sort of hookah smoke. Smells like carrot cake flavored hookah smoke. Oh, that's really interesting. Polo mint. Oh my god, yeah. So polo mints are like British lifesavers, and yeah, that's not just mint. That is specifically polo mint. That is weird, like chalky mint. Oh, that's mad. Cool. All right. Well, bottoms up. This one is a peppery upside down pineapple cake. It's an upside down pineapple cake, but it's peppery. You probably got that from the fact that I called it a peppery upside down pineapple cake. I'm channeling my inner superhero today, Captain Obvious. I'm not really familiar with candy corn. Is that stuff that looks like teeth that you give away at Halloween over here? I think is that candy corn? That's ringing a bell. I've had it once or twice. I don't really remember what it tastes like, to be honest. It was very meh. Cherry flavored sweets though. Yeah, almost like a cherry soother, like a Halls. Like a cherry strepsil. Yeah, cherry strepsil. But also, like, licking a chopping board. Quite woody. Quite dry. I like that. I like that a lot. Glad we got this one back. So, damn, that's good. So one thing to mention with this whiskey is, yes, it was originally released more than 2 years ago, a couple of years ago, and for whatever reason, the price on this one was weirdly spectacular. So yeah, keep if this one sounds good to you, then keep your ears open for the price. Well, I'm about to reveal it, but first of all, I should also reveal where it's from. So let's add a couple of drops of water, see if it opens up while I reveal what distillery number 7 is. This is the 184th cask, purchased from Longmorn. Longmorn, a favourite of blending houses and a favourite of single malt aficionados as well. It was built by John Duff, who trained at Glendronach and also designed in Glenlossie. And he built Longmorn in 1893 after arriving back from South Africa, where he attempted and failed quite spectacularly, apparently, at creating a Scottish-style whiskey distilling movement in South Africa. Something which no one really succeeded until quite recently. There are now single malt distilleries popping up in South Africa, but certainly was a bit of ahead of his time trying to do that in the early 1890s. Oh, yeah. That's very nice. It's a little fruitier now on the nose after adding some drops of water. But still really nice and dry and interesting. Quite unique. So if this sounds like the kind of whiskey you want to give a home to, this is the very last of it now. I've been told there's definitely no more coming down the pipeline. And this is a steal of a deal at $156.43. $156.43 for a 12-year-old cask strength Longmorn. Get it while you can. Get it while the getting's good. It won't be around for long, I don't think. Yeah. Welcome back. It's good to have you. even if it's just a flying visit. All right, so whiskey number 4 today. This is another new one, and this is called cinnamon-flavoured black tea leaves. And here are the official tasting notes. An intense dark sweetness emerged from the glass like chocolate fudge with hints of chipotle chili, cinnamon and red pepper, a freshly varnished ebony cabinet or chest of finest black loose tea. The taste neat stayed dark, with cloves, peppercorns, cinnamon and plum black tea, possibly served with a sachetort, a dense chocolate cake with layer of apricot jam and coated in chocolate icing. And if I butchered the pronunciation, it might not be sachetort, maybe it's sachetort, or maybe it's something completely different. Let us know. Diluted, it turned into a deep dark caramel sauce with raisins, and on the palate, a sweet coffee liqueur over morello cherries. After 12 years in an ex-bourbon hogshead, we transferred this whiskey into a first fill limousine oak hogshead. Cool. Now, there's a type of wood that we've had before, but it's definitely uncommon in the whiskey world. It's much more common, and where it comes from, I believe, in the cognac world. I believe this is the type of cask that we would usually see brandies matured in. Yeah, Limousin oak, which is specific type of French oak, I believe. Yeah. Again, if I'm wrong on that, because I realise right now I'm not 100% confident. I thought I knew what Limousin oak was, and now I'm trying to say it on camera. I'm not certain. I might post a redaction in the comments section, but if you feel like enlightening me in the live chat as to what Limousin oak really is, yeah, I would love to hear it. I would like to start a conversation right now about Limousin oak. Yeah. From memory, type of cask used for brandy of French origin. But let's see what it does to this whiskey. It's going to be a cool one. This is cask 112.65. This is one of, holy crap, 358. How the hell did they get 358 bottles out of a hogshead? Must be a pretty damn big hogshead. Impressive. The short form notes on this one: intense dark sweet aromas were followed by a sachetort, diluted coffee liqueur over morello cherries. It was distilled on the 19th of October 2004. It is a Highland single malt Scotch whisky. It is an ex-bourbon hogshead, and it is it started in an ex-bourbon. I'm still getting used to the new layout, sorry. It started in an ex-bourbon hogshead, and then it had a final cask in a first fill Limousin oak hogshead. It was bottled at 56.4% alcohol by volume, and this was aged for 15 years. Very nice. Alrighty. Ooh, that's a nifty colour. It's like honey. A nice orange, burnt orange note to it. I like that. That's on the nose. That reminds me of. Where is it from? It's from Thrifties. For those Victoria locals who are used to maybe shopping at Thrifties, or a local chain of supermarkets here, for those who aren't from Victoria, they have a Nanaimo bar that they make. And it's got this sort of weird, waxy, not quite chocolate, but apparently is chocolate on it. And this smells like that. This smells like the waxy chocolate on a Thrifties Nanaimo bar. Which, if you're from Canada, you should know what a Nanaimo bar is. But if you're not from Canada, I suggest Googling it. It's a regionally specific dessert bar. I don't actually know what makes it in a Nanaimo bar, other than it was probably invented in Nanaimo. I can't remember what's in it. Ooh, that is... That is dark and spicy. It's coffee. It says finest black loose tea in the tasting notes. I'm getting more of a mocha. Actually, no, not even mocha. Black. It's just a black coffee. There ain't no cream in that. That is a black coffee with hot sauce in it. That doesn't sound great, but the whiskey's very good, I assure you. Plums. Plums taken to school in a wooden pencil case. It's just a little tiny hint of pencil shaving. And a little tiny hint of, like, whatever rubbers are actually made of that aren't actually made of rubber. No, sorry, they're not called rubbers here. Erasers. Whatever erasers are made of. Tiny hints of, like, eraser. It's very stationary. Oh, but that... much sweeter on the palate than the nose would have you think. It's... actually tastes... Again, it actually says coffee liqueur in the tasting notes, so I'm not too far off with the coffee I was getting earlier. Actually reminds me an awful lot of the Depth Charge, a beautiful local coffee liqueur made by the guys up in... I don't actually remember where they are. They're up in, like, Campbell River or somewhere. They're near Shelter Point, but a little further out. Yeah, they make all kinds of spirits out of honey. The guys at Unruly. And yeah, they make a wonderful coffee liqueur called the Depth Charge. I very much recommend checking it out if you like coffee liqueurs, and it tastes on the flavor is reminding me a lot of that. It's much deeper than a lot of coffee liqueurs. It actually has, like, espresso in it. Wayward, that's the name of it. But yeah, they're up in, like, Campbell River. Cherries, I like that. Yeah, this is good. I'm a fan of this one. I like the maturity on this as well. It feels well held together. It feels, feels in tune. To go back to the musical reference of our theme this month of finding your whiskey rhythm, this feels well tuned. This was prepared very, very well. It feels like a well tuned harp. Very nice indeed. Yeah. Thoroughly recommend this. I'm going to add a couple of drops of water and tell you where it's from. So this is Distillery 112. And 112 is Inchmurrin. Inchmurrin is one of many styles produced at Loch Lomond, and they achieve their unique flavour in the Inchmurrin whiskies by using a very special type of still. It's a pot still, but it's a pot still with a straight neck, and it actually has plates. It has rectifying plates. I think they actually call it like a rectifying head, so it's a pot still with basically a pot still with a column still on top of it almost. But yeah, it's very uncommon. I don't know if anyone else really uses it. Really cool, because you can really impact and change the flavour with that quite a lot. So as we've mentioned before, especially with Loch Lomond, because they've got quite a few different codes, the way the SMWS coding system works is it's not about ingredients. It's not about whether it's peated or unpeated, basically. It's about the production methods. So, yeah. You'll see some whiskies share a code, and you'll see some distilleries have multiple codes. But it's all about production method, not about ingredient and whether it's peated or not. Yeah, really cool. And in this case, a really unique production style, using a hybrid pot still, column still, I guess, is basically what they're using there. It's a really cool effect. 15 years old. Really neat whiskey. Also, as seems to be the case with pretty much all Loch Lomond's, killer price. This 15-year-old Highland malt can be yours for $198.17. Sub 200 for a 15-year-old single cask, single malt whiskey. Especially with a really unique, interesting cask finish like Limousin Oak. Pretty cool. That is available right now at strathliquor.com/SMWS. Pick up your bottle of cinnamon-flavoured black tea leaves. And with that, we move on to the second half of today's tasting. And we're going for... I assume this is a Indiana Jones reference. I haven't actually seen Indiana Jones, which I feel like I'm getting a lot of flack for admitting that, but I've never seen Indiana Jones. But this is the Raiders of the Lost Fridge. There's a movie I can get behind. An interesting aroma of cobalt, Madeira cake, roasted almonds, and blue raspberry lollipops. Undulating notes of dark fruit chutneys, plum wine, 5-spice hoisin sauce, coffee, and chocolate liqueur, and then beef stock cut with jasmine tea. I've never in my life thought about cutting stock with tea. That's an amazing idea. I'm going to try that. Water lightens the meaty tones and ups the warmth with horseradish, mixed spice, ginger, nut meat. What the hell is nut meat? And rice pudding thickness. In the mouth, we noted plum sauce, cloves, blood orange, game meats, and Cointreau. Cherry cough medicine mixed with chocolate orange. With a little dilution, we found pickled raisins, lemon cough drops, chili-infused dark chocolate, marsala custard, and lychee syrup. Matured for 10 years in a bourbon hogshead before being transferred into a second fill charred red wine barrique. Very, very cool. Very cool indeed. Alrighty, so this is SMWS 36.176, Raiders of the Lost Fridge, one of 210 bottles that they got out of that ex-red wine barrique there. It came out at 57.2% ABV. It was distilled in the Speyside region on the 12th of September 2008. And the little right up here, spices and meats, fruits and pickles, darkness and light, Sutton syrup. It shouldn't work, but it does. Yeah, this sounds like it's going to be a big, bold, unadulterated, unapologetic kind of a whiskey, and yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. Also excited because I've relatively recently discovered how much I like this distillery as well. There's been a lot of really good ones. Actually, I accidentally got a lot of people excited about this distillery because there was a typo in last month's OutTurn. We had a 26, and I accidentally wrote 36 on an email, and a lot of people were like, oh, there's a 36? I was like, nope, there's a 26, which is also very exciting. 26 is Kleinlich, which is an amazing distillery. But yeah, 36 is cool too. Very cool, actually. Ooh, that is, what was that? That was balsamic vinegar. That is an aged balsamic vinegar in like a balsamic reduction, an aged balsamic reduction with like a blueberry syrup and Branston pickle. Oh, that's amazing. Oh. It's not often you get a whiskey that has those sort of beefy OXO cube kind of qualities to it. We had one a little while ago. I can't remember the name of it right now. I think we still have some in the store that was particularly sort of meaty. But this is like a big, sweet... This is like a... Yeah, it's like having a beef, a stewed beef, like really long stewed beef in a rich gravy, then served with like HP sauce. Oh, which is not. I always feel weird about HP sauce in North America because it's available here and people seem to have it, but they serve it with steak. It's like steak sauce, and that feels weird and wrong. Like, I was just saying having it with like the stewed beef there, but that would even be considered relatively unusual where I'm from. Brown sauce, as we call it, HP sauce or Daddy's, or there's all kinds of different brands. Daddy's just sounds weird, doesn't it? Daddy's sauce. There's something wrong with that. Anyway, brown sauce is normally served traditionally where I'm from as a breakfast condiment. You have it with sausages and bacon and fried eggs. But yeah, there's a little bit of that in there. Ooh, it's like onion jam. It's like a This would go really well with like a German meal, like, you know, one of those like boerwurst, like a big boar sausage with like spätzle and cabbage. That and this whiskey, heavenly. Maybe a pipe full of tobacco. Oh, I like this. I like this a lot. I like this possibly too much. This is one of those whiskeys where if I'm not careful, I'm going to finish the glass on camera and look like an alcoholic. Oh, that's damn good. That is damn good. That is the most beautiful. So, it's this mix of sweet and savoury, which I absolutely adore. It's like the kind of thing you get in like teriyaki jerky, that kind of thing, which I find in whiskey, and I find actually in things like Ugadal, you know, like sweet, fruity, peated whiskies. This is like Ugadal without the smoke. What a beautiful thing to say about a whiskey. It's like Ugadal but without the smoke, because Ugadal is one of the most highly rated, well thought of whiskies on the planet. But it is. It's that kind of thing. It's better than Ugadal without the smoke, to be honest. You know what it is? It is a 36. It is 36.176, and 36 is a wonderful distillery. It is a distillery known as Ben Rinnes. And Ben Rinnes has a big, meaty new make spirit, which, you know, is in full display in this whiskey. It comes from a partial triple distillation and extra cool worm tubs. The partial triple distillation is actually the same technique that's used at Mortlock, but, you know, it's slightly a variant on the same idea. This malt is designed specifically to go with ex-sherry and other ex-wine casks. It's big, meaty, strong, complex whiskey that will hold up against those extra flavours, and it does so beautifully. So I've just added a couple of drops of water. Let's see. I don't think I sense a difference there. I'll add a little more just to see. But yeah, if this frankly ridiculous 11-year-old second fill red wine barrique Ben Rinnes sounds like it belongs in your collection, then you can pick it up right now, only if you're an existing SMWS member, because it is $166.87. $166.87. Excellent whiskey for that price. Quite frankly, one of the best value SMWSs for my personal tastes that I've seen in quite a while, and I'm very tempted to pick up a bottle if finances allow. Well, we'll find out. All right. So we've had 3 different types of labels so far. 3 different types of labels, from old to older to the new, more the common label that we're now familiar with. We're going for something very, very different now, because for those of you who have been following the SMWS in the last couple of years, you'll know that there's one thing that the SMWS has recently started, and frankly they're doing an incredible job with, and that's blending. And we have a spicy and sweet treat right now. We have a blended malt from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society known as Spice Cannon. And here is the official write-up from the SMWS. This latest small batch expression draws from a complex selection of casks. It includes whiskies from Speyside and the Highlands, matured in Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez sherry casks, coopered from both Spanish and American oak. There is an element of bourbon cask maturation too, but this component was extra matured in sherry casks prior to blending. The combination reveals a rich dram with sweet, nutty, spicy qualities. Bottled at 50% ABV for optimal balance. And for those of you who've been following along with the blending journey of the SMWS recently, I think they've released everything at 50% ABV. It's kind of their blender's mark there. Freshly baked apple pie arrived with a heavy dusting of cinnamon and nutmeg, while the dark intentions of demerara-coated walnuts and macadamias bathed in a spicy fruitcake mix. Then a burst of oils from singed orange skin introduced marmalade and black cherries as we ventured into a palette of rich spice. Marzipan and almonds now merged with dark chocolate as raisins and licorice complemented hazelnut liqueur in hot cocoa. A dash of water opened a big butt of sherry-infused fruit. Sherry-infused fruit? Combined with oxidized apples and pears with rhubarb crumble and sultanas. Chocolate truffles and praline gathered around gingerbread on the finish before leaving us with pink grapefruit and cloves. Ladies and gentlemen, Spice Cannon, the SMWS's 10th blended malt. Yeah, super cool. Not really much more to add from the bottle. It's aged 10 years, which is cool. Again, 50% ABV. Super cool. Selection of bourbon Oloroso PX casks, but the bourbon casks are all then finished in Oloroso. So yes, full on sherry maturation here. It's, sounds like the kind of sherry bomb that maybe could fit in a Spice Cannon. That's a weird note. I was going into the nose thinking, okay, so I'm looking for like just a huge amount of sherry influence. First thing I found on the nose, smells like vine-ripened tomatoes growing in a greenhouse, like the actual tomato vine. Wasn't expecting that. Wasn't expecting that at all. All right, I'm going in for another round. And there we go. Pine nuts, and then orange skins and clove. I'll show you the orange skins, pith included. It's not just the rind. There's a little pithy. It's somewhat of a sort of cut grass kind of a thing going on there as well. Mixed citrus marmalade. So that's like an orange, lemon, lime, grapefruit mix together in a marmalade. That's... like an almond butter. That's nice. That's very nice. It's sherry, but it's a different side of sherry. It's not your quintessential. It's not your raisins and prunes and plums and figs and dates. It's a little bit more interesting, a little bit more different. I like what they've done with this. This isn't a sherry bomb. This is a spice cannon. I like that. Yeah, this is just a little bit unexpected. Just going to give you a better look at the label without the Glencans there, because it's a fancy looking label. It's got artwork and everything. Best to show it off. All right. Well, obviously, I don't really have any trivia for this one because it's not from a specific distillery. It's from many specific distilleries, but we don't know the specifics. I have no idea where this is from. I can tell you it was made by the SMWS, of course. That's about it. But one thing I can definitely tell you is that it is available right now at strathleger.com. For a limited time only, I assume, because the price is right on this one. This is $155.57, available right now for $155.57. Yeah, another beautifully unique blended malt whiskey from the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. Glory. All right, well, it is time for our repeat. And I know we had a repeat earlier today, but that was technically like an old repeat from like a couple of years ago that we brought back again. This is time for our token repeat off of the shelves. And on paper, I loved the look of this lineup. There's some wonderful whiskies, and I've been very, very impressed with all of the 6 that we've had so far here today. However, I did feel like it just doesn't feel quite like an OutTurn if there's only one peated whiskey. So I had to throw another peated whiskey in there, and I am very happy to say that right now we actually do have some peated whiskey on the shelf at the Strath, something that a couple of years ago was just impossible. All the peated whiskey sold out immediately as it was launched, but we do have some peated whiskey available at the Strath, and we're showcasing a little bit of a forgotten repeat here, which I really enjoyed at the time. This one is Cheeky and Reeky. Thick plumes of black smoke bellowed from the glass, epitomising the very essence of burntness. Through the heavy smog came notes of rosemary and thyme, and substantially charred wood coated with linseed oil. The palate was chewy and scorched, wrapping rich gravy around eminently maritime components that embraced fishing nets and fishermen's raincoats in a ship's engine room. With water, we found ourselves at the harbour sipping on cappuccinos amongst the lobster nets and fish baskets, as puffs of smoke from a tugboat blew into the sea air. The palate had sweetened and ventured into roasted chestnuts and toasted pine nuts, dotted with seaweed and a sprinkling of chimney soot. Very nice. Well, I know that long-time member and good friend of mine, Frank Hudson's been doing a lot of fishing in the last couple of weeks as, his mass genocide of spot prawns has started. So I know you don't really use fishing nets for spot prawns, but maybe there's a little bit of familiarity there. Of course, Captain Duke Snyder probably knows what an engine room smells like. Let's see if you guys get any familiar notes from this. Cheeky and Reeky is a particularly interesting one because despite having all these coastal notes, and this is one thing I personally really enjoyed about this whiskey, it's not really from the coast. And I think I talked about how saying that in Scottish terms is very different to saying that in British Columbian terms because, I mean, in the UK, the coast is only ever so far away. When I say it's not near the coast, I'm not talking Calgary, I'm talking, like Vancouver, right? This is Cheeky and Reeky. It is 135.21. This is a Highland whiskey from the 18th of March 2005. It was matured in a refill ex-bourbon hogshead and is bottled at 53.3% ABV at an age of 14 years. Bottled at 14 years aged. Very cool. One of 277 that they managed to get out of that hogshead. Very cool. Thick plumes of black smoke wrapped around dried herbs and fishing nets on the deck of a tugboat with sweet roasted chestnuts and cappuccinos. If you've found a tugboat that serves cappuccinos, you might be mistaking tugboats with like cruise liners. Alrighty. And you can tell this one's off the shelf because it's got the Strathern Wine and Spirit Merchant sticker on the back. Alrighty. Oh, that is so different to anything we've had today so far. So this one is from the lightly peated sort of flavour profile, which is something that I nosed it again. I remember specifically thinking, if this is lightly peated, I'd hate to see what these guys think heavily peated is like, because that is quite peated. I would not say there's anything light about the amount of peat in this. This is like a standard Kalila level peat. This is not like a soft Ardmore peat. But yeah, it's got this tanginess on the nose that I can't quite put my finger on a better way to describe it, but it's like a coastal tanginess, like a saltwater tanginess. And it does have that oily net, like fishing net kind of thing. Tarry ropes. There's a bit of an engine room thing happening here. It actually smells like the Maritime Museum in Grimsby, which is an awesome. I think it's called the Maritime Museum. It might be called the Fisheries Museum or something. But yeah, it's an awesome museum of the history of the fishing industry in Grimsby, which is where I grew up. I should mention Grimsby in England, not Grimsby in Ontario. Very, very different Grimsbys. Both of them quite grim, however. But yeah, I lived between the ages of like 2 and 6 or 7. I lived just down the road from Grimsby, in a place called Cleethorpes. Visited that museum quite a lot as a child. It smells a lot like this. Actually, wow. I don't remember much from my childhood back then, but I just had a flash of memory from that exact museum, which I'm surprised I remember at all. They actually have a little sort of fake fisherman's bar set up in the museum with like old school bar games, and it's got that I don't know what you call it actually. It's got the Skittles game. I guess it may be called Swing Skittles or something, where you've got like the 9 pegs and you've got a string. A ball on a string on a pole, and you've got to like throw it around the pole, and it comes around and hits them, and you've got to knock them all over. I used to love playing that at that museum. Oh man, what a treat of a memory to bring back there. That'd be a great. I wonder if you can buy that in Canada. Be a great addition to my table games collection. I have the Crokinole and the whatever the hell this Skittles thing is called. Ooh. Yeah, that is... It tastes like a rainy day in Grimsby. It's smoky, it's industrial, it's coastal. It's a little bit lemony, a little bit seafoody. That's... yeah. This is the kind of whiskey where you either love it or you hate it, but for those of you that are going to love this style, if you're a fan of Islay whiskies, you're probably going to like this whiskey. It's also, frankly, an insane price. I'm going to add some water and tell you where it's from. I think that's basically the theme of today's OutTurn, is really well-priced whiskies for the first 7 at least. It's been pretty good. All right, so... 135. This is actually a distillery which is wrongly reported on the internet. I know it's weird, but there is a lot of fake news on the internet. There's a lot of people claiming things that just aren't true. One of the things that you'll find on the internet that isn't true is that 135 is not actually an Inchmowan, even though a lot of people will tell you it's an Inchmowan. Inchmowan, in Loch Lomond terms, is the peated version of an Inchmurrin. So it uses the same type of still. Therefore, in the SMWS, as I've already said, it's all about what the production method is that determines your code in the SMWS. And because the production method between Inchmurrin and Inchmowan is the same, it's just whether it's peated or unpeated, they share the same code. They're both 112s, much like number 4 we had today. You can get peated 112s. It's a thing. So, if 135 is not an Inchmowan, what is it? It has... They're partially right. It is from Loch Lomond. However, this is not from their strange hybrid straight neck pot stills with the rectifying plates in it. This is from an absolute classic traditional style swan neck pot still. This is the type of pot still that you'll find in all of the more traditional single malt Scotch whisky distilleries across the country in Scotland. And this is simply just known as a Loch Lomond malt. So it doesn't have any other fancy name. This is just a peated Loch Lomond malt, 135.21. The Loch Lomond from Loch Lomond. The eponymous malt. Which is kind of weird, actually, because they've only relatively recently started using those, from what I understand. They're the actual classic style pot stills are their most recent investment in terms of stills. Perhaps they just couldn't think of a better name. Maybe, I think all the other ones are actually named after islands in the loch, so maybe they ran out of islands, I'm not sure. Like Crofton G and Inchmurrin and Inchmowan and everything. The Loch Lomond from Loch Lomond. And this Loch Lomond from Loch Lomond can be yours right now. It's actually already available and has been for a few months now. It's available right now at strathliquor.com for $181.65. And if you are watching this video thinking, I would really like to join the SMWS, you've persuaded me, these are fantastic whiskies that you're presenting here today, and I would agree, they all are fantastic whiskies. How do I join? Well, I mentioned before you could look it up at smws.ca or check out the details at strathliquor.com/SMWS, but one way that you can join is simply by purchasing an already released whiskey that is over $180. This is $181.65, so this would be a fantastic way of becoming a member. If you've never been a member before, you can join with a sort of a try before you buy trial period, if you wish. If you will. Either. But yes, you can purchase a whiskey that is over $180, and it will include your first year of membership. And that's only available for people who have never been members before. So if you've been a member in the past and you've lapsed, then you need to go back to SMWS.ca to re-sign up your existing membership. But if you've never been a member before and you want to give it a go, pick up a bottle. Pick up this bottle. Why not? Cheeky and reeky. Fantastic. Loch Lomond. And that brings us on to today's final dram for the OutTurn. Whiskey number 8 today is a whiskey where I disagree with the name. I do. On paper and officially, this is called the Garden Shed of England. However, in my heart, I will refer to it as Revenge of the War Seahorse. A very lean, smoky, crisp nose at first. Things like hot Bakelite, bacon fries, smouldering garden bonfires, matchboxes and old toolboxes, hints of sheep wool, cured meat, salt and pepper chips, and unusually, haggis pecora. That sounds good. The peat is sinewy, pure, but powerful, and arrives with a velvet glove. Water unveils preserved lemons in brine, antiseptic and disinfected hospital corridors. The sharpness of citrus and salinity tango perfectly. The mouth is restrained at first, simmering almost, but then bursts open with a white-hot blade of peat, buckets of smouldering leaves, ashes, soot and peppered mackerel, a big mix of tar, brine and burlap. With water, there's now hints of iodine, brake fluid, WD-40, and Marmite spread generously on brown toast. Brown toast being an English term for, like, whole grain toast, by the way. Marmite being an English term for basically edible tar. It's just very, very salty. It's actually like condensed soy sauce in flavour almost. But yeah, if you've not had Marmite, I recommend checking it out. It's not for everyone, but if you do like it, you'll probably very much like it. So, the Garden Shed of England, or as I mentioned, I refer to it as the Revenge of the War Seahorse. This is for the second time at SMWS Canada here. An English single malt whiskey. This is 137.6. Yeah. One of 230 bottles from that first fill barrel ex-bourbon. This one was aged for 8 years and was distilled on the 10th of March 2011 in England. And it is 66% alcohol even. 137.6. Being a whiskey lover, being a fan of heavily peated whiskies as well, and being English, it was an absolute sort of beautiful pleasure, like a highlight of last year, was cracking open that bottle of War Seahorse, which was the last English single malt that we had. And I cannot wait to crack open the sequel, The Garden Shed of England. I mean, in fairness, it's a very English thing, the garden shed. It's like the den of solitude for a lot of English people. Like when the world gets you down, when you've just about had enough and you just can't take it anymore, you go hang out in the garden shed. It's nice. I mean, actually, for a lot of English people who find solace in the garden shed, for a lot of people it's because they're not allowed to smoke indoors, and the garden shed is fair game for smoking. So, works quite well having a smoky whiskey. I wonder if that's part of the naming convention there. The Garden Shed of England, tingly. It's tingly. It's not quite as full volume as I remember the War Seahorse was, but I'm gonna warm it up. The glass is a little cold. Might need to reset my senses, so I'm gonna smell my inner elbow. That's nice. That's smouldering garden bonfire, as I mentioned. It smells smouldering. It's a rolling smoke. It's not an aggressive plume. It's a encroaching giant rolling tidal wave of smoke. Again, kind of coastal. Not so much in the salinity, but it's got like that like shrimp shells, you know? But it does have a note which I'm very much not used to getting outside of a couple of very specific distilleries in Islay. It tastes like a hospital ward on fire. It tastes like to borrow a name from an old SMWS that I very much enjoyed, a cigar smoking night nurse. It's smoky, but it's iodine-y. It's medicinal. The short form on here actually says an earthy yet robust muscular dram. Lots of tool sheds, mechanical oils, salt water, stray lemons whizzing around the place with glee. Someone called the RSPCA. We've got some stray lemons in the shed. Better lemons than lemmings, I guess. It's weirdly Lafroigian. But it's English, and that still confuses and confounds me somewhat. It tastes like it's from here. It does. But it's not. It's not from there at all. Very cool. Well, there's only so many distilleries it could be from England. There's not that many, and there's certainly not that many, maybe only one or two, that can put out an 8-year-old whiskey. But I will tell you, this is England's oldest still operational single malt whiskey distillery. It's the oldest one still running. It started all the way back in 2006. Ancient. It's a relic of this distilling industry. It's a shame. Apparently England used to have a lot of distilleries back in the day, but they all closed down. We used to have a lot of wineries as well. We have quite a few again now, but yeah, I don't know what happened. We all got addicted to beer, I guess. But yeah, so the recipe of this whiskey, which by the way is the English Whiskey Company from England, the distillery is known as St George's. The recipe was designed by the former master distiller of Lafroig, Ian Henderson, who helped set up the stills and was working with them for a good year or two, I think, at St George's. Yeah. Really cool. Really cool to have an English whiskey. Very, very small company compared to anything else we've had tonight. It would be considered, I guess, a craft whiskey in many ways. It's cool that we can get it out here. You seldom see official bottlings from the English Whiskey Company here in BC. There's been a couple at Premium Spirit releases, but we haven't really managed to get any as a standard release yet. But yeah, really cool whiskey. And these single cask strength releases, they've hit 2 for 2 now. I absolutely adored the War Seahorse, and I mean, a part of that might have been the fact that it was the first one for me, but I really enjoy the Garden Shed of England as well. I do. This is beautiful Lafroigian nostalgia. It's like looking at a slice of my own personal history through Lafroig-coloured contact lenses. Yeah, very, very nice. The unfortunate thing, though, is that English Whiskey Company is quite high in demand, despite having a relatively low output, and we didn't get anywhere near as much of this as I would have liked. In fact, we only got the 6 bottles, so As far as I'm aware, we only have 5 left to sell right now. And yeah, if you want to pick up your Revenge of the War Seahorse / The Garden Shed of England, you can pick one up right now. SMWS. Strathliquor.com / SMWS. This is $234.70. $234.70 for The Garden Shed of England. You couldn't build a real shed for that price. But you can sure taste like you've set one on fire. Very cool. Yeah. Garden Shed of England, a fantastic way to finish off the OutTurn. I put it down here with all of its friends, and I will say thank you for joining us once again for the release of another beautiful selection of Scotch Malt Whisky Society whiskies. I very much look forward to seeing you again pretty much a month from now. The first Friday of June, we will be back here once again on Drinking Out Loud for another exciting lineup. And yeah, thanks for joining in. I'm about to put a screen up with all of today's releases on there in case you've forgotten what they are and you need a reminder. Again, head to strathliquor.com / SMWS to see all of the available SMWS whiskies right now. And I'm going to leave you today with some more Benson and Hedges. So I had a huge response last week from the outro music. 2 friends of mine, one unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, Martin Boland, but Martin Boland and Alan Hunter, B&H, they're going to Boland and Hunter B&H, which is a reference of a brand of cigarettes, which I think they actually both smoked, called Benson and Hedges. And yeah, they released a very, very short run album together that was only available for purchase in the bar I used to work at in Edinburgh. So please enjoy another track from the B&H, 10 B&H, from Boland and Hunter. And I will see you at the next tasting, which right now, I don't know what it's going to be. I look forward to finding out, and I'll see you there. Slán Sibar.
Oh, my name is Jimmy Rayburn. In Glasgow I was born. My face an habitation, forced to leave in scorn. Be my place an habitation, and now I'm going more. Far fae the bonny hills and dales, the Caledonia was early in the morning, before the break o' day. I ever heard the turnkey who unto us did say, arise ye hapless convicts, arise ye and all, this is the day you are to stray to Caledonia. We all arose in misery, our hearts were full of grief. Friends all gathered round the door could grant us no relief. Parents, wives and children, their hearts were breaking twa to see us leave the hills and dales to Caledonia. Farewell, my dear mother, God I'm vexed for all I've done. I hope none will upcast thee the race that I run. I hope you'll be provided for when I am far away. Far fae the bonny hills and dales of Caledonia. Farewell, my honoured fair, God, you are the best woman. Likewise, mine dear sweetheart, Catherine is her name. And there will walk the Clyde School Stream down by the broomy law. For I'm underneath the hills and dales of Caledonia. And my name is Jimmy Rayburn. By Glasgow town I came, my place and habitation, I'm forced to live in shame. Be my place and habitation, I never bide far away. Far fae the bonny hills and dales of Caledonia. Far fae the bonny hills and dales of Caledonia.